Welcome to the Euclid Legal Lounge, a podcast helping you on your journey to law school. My name is Sabrina Ruiz-Monroy, and I'm the Associate Director at UCLA. Each episode, we interview law students, lawyers, and law admissions experts to bring you insight and tips on making the path to law school a little bit easier. This podcast is brought to you by the Utah Center for Legal Inclusion, or UCLI for short. UCLI is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing the goals of fairness, opportunity, and inclusion in Utah's legal profession. We work to encourage people of all ages and backgrounds to consider joining the legal profession. Our episode this week is brought to you by the Utah Podcast Studio. The Utah Podcast Studio is a premier recording facility located in West Jordan, Utah. It's dedicated to empowering creators by providing a world-class environment for audio and video production. Their mission is to amplify voices with confidence and clarity, fostering a creative space where impactful stories are shared and communities are built. Learn more about them at utahpodcaststudio.com. For today's episode, I'm happy to be joined by Abby M. Dizon-Maughan. Abby earned her Juris Doctor with honors from the University of Utah S.J. Quinney College of Law in 2012. This was after completing her Master's of Business Management at the University of Phoenix in 2007 and her Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Utah in 2001. She's a respected stakeholder serving clients across Utah and the Intermountain West with significant experience in complex commercial litigation. She has a proven record of success in both state and federal courts. She has handled a wide range of high-stakes cases from breach and contract to RICO and is known for her zealous advocacy and strategic results-oriented approach. Beyond her litigation practice, Abby is also a respected leader in the legal community. She's deeply committed to advancing the profession and supporting her peers and actively contributing to community-based organizations such as the Utah State Bar and the litigation section, as well as the American Bar Association. Her dedication to these organizations, combined with her professional success, has earned her a reputation as not only a top-tier litigator, but also as a trusted leader in the legal field. Sophisticated businesses throughout Utah and the Intermountain West rely on Abby for her legal expertise, her leadership, and her unwavering commitment to achieving the best possible outcomes in even the most complex matters. Well, I'm so excited to have you here, Abby. It's always a treat for me to meet new people, although you're not a new face for me. I'm just excited to have you here.
I'm super excited to be here, and thanks for asking. I love Euclid and the mission that it has, and I'm glad that we're reaching out to young folks. We need some new young talent in the legal field, so this is great.
I'm so excited. So, Abby, you are a second-generation American with hardworking immigrant parents. How do you think their story shaped you and your purpose in getting not only your undergraduate degree, but your business degree and then law school? Like what kind of role did they play in that?
Well, in a myriad of ways. First, my parents, again, were immigrants here. So my sisters and I were first gen going through the American education system. And as the eldest daughter of three girls, it was a lot of let's figure it out together, So my parents, because they didn't have experience in it and I was learning as we were going, it really taught me how to be resourceful and ask questions. And being able to ask questions, putting aside ego and whatnot, being self-conscious about it, really helps you go through undergrad, law school, and then prepares you for a career as an attorney. You just can't have a lot of ego about it. Second, it's the reminder that my parents made such huge sacrifices to get here. When I felt like giving up or it was too hard, it was just not my space, I just kept remembering my parents did so much to get here and I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want their sacrifices to be for naught. And so I used that to propel me to get through the hardest parts of your education, and then being a lawyer too. And then third, education has always been super important to my parents. One thing that my mom always told us growing up is that people can take anything from you. They can take your house, they can take your money, they can take your cars, they can take so much from you. But the one thing that they really can't, that no one can ever take from you, is your education. Once you learn something, you've learned it, and all of the experiences, all of the lessons that you learn by going through the education system, that's something that just stays with you. So no matter what happens in life, no matter what strifes or setbacks you have, you will always have your education that you can rely on, and you can always bring yourself back up because you have that you can fall back onto.
It makes me think of, the idea of a passport. Your education is something that can help you move freely from one place to another without thinking, oh, that door's closed to me. I have that opportunity to go. And that's, I think, amazing that your parents were able to instill that into you as well. Sometimes people will ask me what I'm wearing when I feel like I've got style. I don't have style right now, as you can see.
You look great.
Thank you, Abby. And sometimes I go, I think the most expensive thing that I'm wearing is my brain and my stomach, because I love good quality food and good quality education. So yeah, education absolutely is something that you can never, that's not something anybody can take away from you. So I love that stress that you talked about. And growing up, you were always an overachiever. You took AP classes, you took honors classes. I don't know if dual enrollment was a thing back then.
Not back then.
Okay.
Not way back then. No.
Not that way back then. I'm sure if it was something that was, existing that back then, you probably would have done it. But many students of color often feel this sense of, this imposter syndrome. And did you ever experience that, or did you feel similarly? What would you tell students that are feeling this way right now who might be in those classes?
I used to ascribe to this idea of the imposter syndrome, right? That in new spaces, in new rooms with new people who had different experiences that I did, I felt like I didn't belong there. Somebody was going to find me out as a fraud. And over the last few years, as I've gotten more comfortable in my career, more comfortable in the spaces that I occupy, and as I get older, I just decided that I was going to reject this idea of the imposter syndrome. I feel like imposter syndrome is something that's imposed on people of color and people who come from marginalized communities to reinforce this idea that you don't belong, that you are an imposter. I mean, you look at the name; it's in the name itself, imposter. So a few years ago, I decided that I was going to reject that, because as you progress in your schooling, your education, in your career, or whatever it might be, as you experience new things, you're always going to feel uncomfortable. But that uncomfortableness doesn't have to mean it's because you're an imposter, you don't belong there. It's because it's new and you're growing and you're learning from it. So I've rejected this idea of I don't belong here, right? That I'm just faking it till I make it. People are going to find me out as a fraud, because where I am in my career, my personal life, and in the contributions that I make to the community, it's not because I'm an imposter. I earned it. I put in the time, I put in the effort, I worked hard. I worked harder than some people, and the seat that I have, or the seat I occupy at the table, is mine because I've earned it. I've scratched, I've fought, I've sacrificed, I've cried.
You did it all.
I put in the sweat and the tears. And I belong in the room just as much, if not more, than other people, right? So I'm not an imposter, and I'm uncomfortable because it's a growing experience. So I lean into that uncomfortableness, and I think, okay, what can I learn from this? And I've completely just disposed, or at least I've tried to completely dispose of this idea that I don't belong here and people are going to find out that I'm a fraud, and I'm just going to fake it till I make it because I've made it.
So there's no such thing as faking it till you make it. Just you are in the place that you belong in, and learning to be uncomfortable is something that needs to be had.
Oh, absolutely.
I really, really like that. It's almost like there's no such thing as imposter syndrome. It is something that's imposed because it keeps us there, but we should just want to learn to be uncomfortable. Yeah. I really like that.
Yeah. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's where the learning experiences come from.
Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I'm going to have to put that on the back of my car. A little decal right there. I love that. Thank you, Abby. Do you think that getting into that mindset of taking the AP and honors classes and kind of striving for your best, even in high school, helped set you up for the success that you have now as well? Or
I think it's all about, just going back to this, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. It was the learning experience, right? It wasn't necessarily taking the tests or taking these accelerated classes, because good, bad, or indifferent, there are lots of smart people who are lawyers. There are lots of people who lack, we'll say, common sense. right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't taking the AP classes and it wasn't taking the accelerated classes. It was pushing myself to accomplish what was hard, and getting comfortable with the fact that not everything is going to be easy. I think that as, going through high school and then college, I think that people who tend to be the smartest in the room are the ones who are driven to do things that are difficult, And sometimes, especially in high school and some undergrad, it's not as challenging, right? Like we tend to come across things a little more quickly or develop ideas that are more complex a little more quickly than other people. And so it's the exercise of pushing yourself beyond what's comfortable and beyond what's just immediate that prepares you for law school. So if it's AP classes, if it's advanced classes, if it's, dual,
doesn't matter.
No,
Yeah.
it's just something that as long as you're learning something that's beyond what you're comfortable with, learning something beyond like the scope that you're used to, that's really what you need to develop when you go to law school.
And I feel like that's where you find yourself more and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses you can enhance or become better at. And I like that. So choosing your hard and pushing yourself no matter what that is.
Yeah.
So I think for those that might be listening who are in high school, let's say, or even in undergrad, they might be thinking, oh my gosh, I want to go to law school, but do I need to take this extra philosophy class? Do I need to take this? And for some people, maybe you want to take that and that's something that you want to do. But I think that there's this quantity mindset. I need to add on all these supposedly hard classes just to make my resume look better. When if it's not your real hard, then it's not your real why.
Right. That's exactly right. And I think that, as a child of immigrant parents, being the first to go through the public education system and then undergrad here in Utah, for our parents, it's very easy to look at a piece of paper and say, okay, this is advanced placement, so you should be taking this class, right? Or this is an honors class, so you should be taking an honors class, or this is concurrent enrollment, so you should be doing this. But there's no straight path to law school. There are no classes that you have to take when you're an undergrad. There are no classes or in high school. There are no classes that you have to take when you get to college. It's whatever classes you take, make sure that you excel, right? Make sure that you're not just getting the good grades on paper, but that you're developing good study habits, that you're developing like this ability to question why, good critical thinking skills, because those are the real skills that are important. It's not just, oh, I took an AP class and I did well. Lots of people take AP classes and can do well. Yeah. It's what did you learn from it? How did you overcome, whatever impediments you had, whatever obstacles people put up in your way. And realistically, not everybody has that privilege of taking AP classes or honors classes or concurrent enrollment.
That's so true.
People have competing priorities and things that are competing for their time and their attention and obligations that may not make it so that they can take these classes. So it's really just about doing something well and learning from it.
I love that. Thank you. And do you have a son in high school right now? Or
he's in his second year at the U.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, he's got an amazing mom telling him these tips, right?
Let's see if he listens. So.
I was like, oh, maybe he will. He's going to learn, right? Either way. But being a mom, you're able to give that amazing advice to your son. And do you feel like you've learned how to apply some of those aspects of being a mom? And do you use that in your work as an attorney now as well? Or
yeah, so with my son, so I have my 19-year-old and then my 11-year-old, and it's the same thing, like we don't expect perfect grades. We don't expect like the perfect resume. What we expect our kids to do, my husband and I expect our kids to do is just do their best, and push beyond what they think is their best, right? Like push beyond, because I think that it's human nature to say, okay, well, this is too hard. I've given it all that I've got and I'm going to give up now. It's just like, but you might have a little gas in your tank left. Let's talk about and really figure out if this is really the end, and 99% of the time, I want to say my kids are like, okay,
I still have a little bit more.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more. And it's the same thing with, practicing law.
Yeah.
It's okay. I've thought this issue to death. I've turned it over. I've read the contract over and over and over again. And I've looked at the documents and I've looked at the emails, and I'm hitting a dead end. I'm hitting a brick wall. But what more can I give? There's got to be something else that I'm not looking at, that I'm not seeing, something else that I'm not thinking of. So let me just give it a little bit more. Let's just keep pushing through this. And it may be I need to talk to somebody else who has a different perspective than I have, or walking away from it for a minute and just coming at it with fresh eyes. But it's always just that, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I don't really want to do this, but
I have that much left.
Yeah. This particular issue deserves a little bit more attention.
No, that's great. And I think you're giving that advice to your son, and in some ways you are one of the most important mentors that he will ever have. And mentorship is something that, especially on this podcast, we talk a lot about. Everyone seems to, at least those who have passed through, have had really great mentors in their lives, preparing them for law school as they've been in law school and even outside as they're practicing. For you, what kind of mentoring did you have exposure to, especially as you were deciding law schools? For me, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, so when I was little, that's when I decided I wanted to become an attorney.
Wow. Like from what age do you remember?
Even before I was in elementary school.
No way.
Yeah, it was something that I'm like, this is what I want to do. And my parents used to laugh because they said that I learned English by watching TV.
You watched a specific show, right? Or
Perry Mason. I loved it. I
had to look that up. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
It's because I'm old.
No, it's okay.
And to be clear, I just watched the reruns. I didn't watch Perry Mason the first go around. Yeah. I watched reruns. But I thought, I want to be like that guy. I want to be the gotcha guy. I want to be the one who's the smart one who gets like the bad guy and tricks him into answering a question. But it was always it always felt like a pipe dream, right? Perry Mason is this white male, and every character that was depicted in the show was a white person, So it was always like, I want to do that. But I never really saw anybody who looked like me.
That representation.
Yeah. And then when I was in high school, one of my mom's good friends, who's Filipina, went to law school. She was married, she had 3 kids, and then she became an attorney. And my mom reached out to her and said, well, Abby wants to go to law school. Wow. Do you have room for her in your law firm? So my mom's friend said, well, if this is what she wants to do, she needs to ask me.
Wow. That's great.
So I called her, and I had just graduated from high school. And I said, this is something that I would really like to do. Can I come work with you? And she was just like, yeah, let's do it. So I was her paralegal for a couple of years, I think 3 years before I moved on.
Oh, so pretty much almost all of undergrad then, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Wow.
And for me, it was seeing somebody who looked like me in that position. It was never really a reality until I saw somebody who didn't look like everybody else. I mean, this was 1997, just so that you guys can figure out how old I am. So I graduated from high school in 97, started working with her that following fall because I'd already graduated and was starting at the U. And I mean, back then, there were not a lot of people of color. I mean, even now.
And this is still Utah.
Yeah, this is still Utah.
Okay, so we're talking about an even smaller niche of a group, right?
Yeah, I want to say that right now with the Utah State Bar, the Asian population is maybe 2%.
Wow.
It's a really small segment of the population. And so being able to see somebody who looked like me, Filipina woman, I can do this. You don't have to be a white dude to do this. There's somebody else who has already broken that barrier for me. I just need a follower. So she was a great mentor. And then, developing my practice while I was in law school, connecting with people who knew what it was like and understood the struggles of being a law student, and a spouse and a parent, being able to find people who who understood, so I didn't feel so alone.
Well, and how did you continue kind of creating those connections? I guess apart from the Filipina attorney who helped you, was there anyone else that you talked to, or how did you continue reaching out?
So I was kind of shameless. Before I went to law school, I was a paralegal for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like the only people that I knew were the people that I work with, and I shamelessly used their connections. Every time, like so her name was Marlene, the Filipina attorney. Every time she was going somewhere or meeting with somebody, I'm like, can I come? You're going to go to lunch. Can I come? Will you introduce me to that person?
Yeah,
do you know
just
this
call
person?
that proactivity. Yeah, like that's fantastic.
Shameless. It was
just like shameless.
Somebody buy me lunch. Introduce me to this person. And it continued, right? Like every law firm that I went to, every attorney that I worked for, if they knew somebody, I was always asking them for an introduction. In law school, you get these great opportunities where practitioners will come to the schools and they'll do these, hour-long lunches or whatever. And I would stick around. I was that geek in the front and center. And I'm like, ooh, meet me. Come talk to me. And I can't tell you how many times I went up to somebody after a lunchtime presentation and said, that was fantastic. Let's go to lunch. And, sometimes it was well received. Sometimes it's not. But, the reality is that lawyers are egotistical people. And we love to tell stories about ourselves. And, anytime there's an opportunity for an audience, I think most attorneys will take it. And I figured that out pretty quickly.
And I feel like most attorneys are also eager to help other students. Sure. I mean, in my experience, I feel like everyone has been so helpful. But yeah, shameless. I love that. So I'm going to add that onto the bumper as well. Shameless.
And again, leading into the uncomfortable, right? It's not the most comfortable thing to go up to a stranger.
It's not.
And say, hey, take me to lunch.
Pick me. Choose me. Yeah.
But it's those vocal students who get noticed, Well,
and I think that's the hard part too, is obviously not everyone is like that. And so they think, okay, well, if I'm not like that, is there room for me to connect with attorney? And I think there is. Yeah. But there's also something to say about developing that, skill of being able to network with people. Yeah. Because in general, when you are an attorney, I mean, you talk to so many people, right? And I think that's just apart from via email, but you do it in person. And so I think that is something, like, if you're not good at it now, to keep practicing that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, so my husband loves this story because he thinks that I'm the most social of the two of us, but I'm really
social
not.
Butterfly.
Yeah. So when I first started law school, I think we were still in orientation week, and there was a social event at UMFA, Utah Museum of Fine Arts. So we were sitting at a table, and it was just kind of like, sit where you want, blah, 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 whatever. So we were sitting at this table with one of my other classmates and, got to know her. And at the end of the dinner, I was just like, okay, I'm ready to go home. This is so overwhelming. There's so many people here that I don't know, and they're all with their plus ones, and there's just a lot of people, and it was just a lot. Yeah. It was draining my social battery. And my husband's like, okay, let's go. And I said, all right. So I'm like, I just need to make a pit stop and go to the restroom really fast, and then we can leave. Plus our son was at home, and he was 3. So I go to the restroom, I come out, and my husband is holding a glass of wine, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I told you I wanted to go home. I want to see our kid. And he's just like, oh no, this isn't for me. This is for you. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. Yeah. And he said, we're going to stay, and you are going to talk to people.
Wow.
And I am giving you your liquid courage. So he handed me the glass of wine. He said, let's go out to the patio. There's a group of, 6 people. They're sitting right there, and they're just talking. And you are going to sit down, and you are going to talk to them. So I went out, and I sat down, and I talked to them, and it was awkward because they were clearly already in the middle of a conversation, and I'm here barging in. And we had a great time. I mean, we stayed for another hour and a half, and by the end of the evening, when it was time to go home because they were kicking us out, there were maybe 20
you guys
people.
For a long time then.
Oh yeah, we stayed until the end. And we had a group of maybe 20 people who were just hanging out and talking because we were all in the same position. It was awkward for everybody, and we just needed to get over that initial hurdle of, this is weird. I don't know anybody here, so let's just all kind of be weird together.
Which, I mean, you did that.
Yeah.
Though. And do you still talk to anyone from that group by chance?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the greatest thing about the U is that my class was maybe 126 people.
Also smaller.
It was tiny. It was
Wow.
tiny. And being able to just develop those deep friendships with my classmates was invaluable.
Wow. Well, and we'll talk I will ask some more questions about your law school experience, but that's amazing. You just kind of just jumped in, made yourself uncomfortable, but you've gained so much from that experience. And I'm also really glad to hear that you had that support from your husband, there. And not everyone will have that.
Yep.
But being able to have those connections and the familiar support is so invaluable. With my next question, while you were kind of in this preparatory phase of law school, did you get exposed to any kind of volunteer opportunities or any, do you have any tips for those who might be thinking, okay, is there something I should specifically be doing for volunteering to give me a broader perspective of the legal profession?
Yeah, so when I was working as a paralegal, I learned about, it was called Guadalupe, the Guadalupe Legal Clinic, and I think it's now the Street Law Clinic. So I started volunteering there.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to meet more people in the community who were doing different things than what the attorneys that I was working for were doing. I was working at a commercial litigation firm at the time, and I thought that I wanted to do immigration and criminal after I graduated from law school, and I did criminal for a little bit. But it was a great opportunity to meet people. I don't know, though, if it's for everybody, right? Like, I don't know if volunteering at the Street Law Clinic is something that everybody should do. So my advice is, again, there's no straight path to law school. Find something that speaks to you, that resonates with you, something that you're passionate about, and then just go all in. It really doesn't matter, what it is, if it's walking dogs with the Humane Society or volunteering with a Girl Scout troop or a Boy Scout troop. It's just anything that you feel passionate about and do well.
Just do it.
Yeah, and just keep showing up. Like, people rise to leadership positions and they rise to visibility just because they keep showing up. Keep showing up, do good work, and it really doesn't matter where you spend your volunteer time. It's ultimately developing connections to the community that's valuable.
Fantastic. So if someone wants to volunteer 50 hours to Euclid, they can.
You totally should.
Totally can. Well, thanks for sharing that. So we've talked about, your prep work in talking to mentors, just really making yourself uncomfortable, doing your best in your classes, whatever class that might have been. We talked about you wanting to be an attorney since you were yay high. But I'm really curious to understand, like, the biggest motivator. What was your why behind law school? Why law school?
Oh, man.
I know, a loaded question.
Well, I mean, and it's changed so many times over the last few years, right? Like, the big why of going to law school is because, I mean, frankly, that's all that I can see myself doing. I felt like that was the next natural step in my progression as a professional. But the why I chose initially to go into criminal defense is because I wanted to help, people in the community. I wanted to give voice to the people who felt like they were not being heard, and I wanted to be an advocate for them, That eventually changed. The why then became, why do I do civil litigation, right? My selfish why was, I felt that making the transition from criminal to civil litigation was stretching me beyond my comfort zone. I was going to develop skills and did develop skills as a better researcher and as a better writer, advocating for issues that were more complex in different ways than issues that I was finding as a criminal defense attorney. But then the why for my clients was, this is the system that keeps the economic train on its rails, right? If people are allowed to just breach their contracts, not pay for services or goods that they've received or whatever it might be, then it all kind of seems to fall apart, So the why for me in transitioning was for the client. I want to be an advocate for them in a court system that, I think when people initially think about it, they think of just the criminal justice system, but the commercial system is just as important, right? We have to make sure that people are being held to the terms that they agree to. So the why changes as you evolve as a person, as you evolve as an attorney. The why has to change. My why can't be the same now as it was in 2009 when I went to law school. It has to change.
When you're changing, and I think that a lot of those that might be in law school, sometimes they feel bad about why their why's changing. Like at first they're like, well, I want to be an immigration attorney, but then actually I fell in love with corporate law, and I'm really interested in this, and it just happens to pay really, really well. And then they feel bad about it, and I'm like, no, like that. If anything, you're pushing us further. Yep. You're pushing us further into this amazing legal platform where that representation is also seen in a space like corporate, law. Yeah. So I think that's great. I love that you're changing, so your why also changes, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that for me, the why I wanted to go into immigration and criminal, some of it was the external pressure, right? People look at people of color and women, and they expect that you're going to go into a certain area of law.
Right.
So when people looked at me, it was the assumption, oh, you're going to go into criminal defense, immigration, because you want to help your community as opposed to our community, right? It's just but my community is broader than that. And so it took some re-examination of, is this really what I want to do? Or is it external societal pressures that are expecting me to go into immigration and criminal defense? I mean, and still now people assume that I do family law because I'm a woman, and people assume,
still?
It's like,
wow.
Oh, you must do family. Well, why is that a must?
Yeah.
No, I represent multi-million-dollar companies in multi-million-dollar lawsuits. Why isn't that the assumption?
First.
Yeah. And so it's also a matter of disrupting the status quo, disrupting, these expectations that other people have of you, and then occupying spaces where you don't typically find people of color.
I love that. Well, and there's a difference between fitting into a space and expanding it. And you've obviously proven that you've been expanding it this entire time. You have been. So thank you for sharing.
Well, I appreciate that.
Of course. And now we'll kind of move into the law school aspect. So how did you feel about, or how did you feel your identity was made or affected being a woman of color and a non-traditional student in law school? Did you have resources to feel involved? Did you feel supported?
Yeah, I mean, at the U, because it is such a small law school,
right,
it was easy to find people who, I may not have found the perfect person, right? There weren't a lot of people of color. There weren't a lot of women of color. There weren't a lot of parents. There weren't a lot of people who were non-traditional students. So it was a matter of finding people, not necessarily who could empathize, because you're not going to find that perfect person.
And you won't find it everywhere.
Right. That's right. It was a matter of just finding people who accepted me for who I was, right, and being able, being okay with, well, this is who I am. I can't always hang out. I can't always do this because I have a husband and I've got a child, or, being okay with the fact that I was 10 years older than a lot of my classmates. Yeah. And just being there as a support, seeing me as a student as opposed to seeing me as an old lady, mom, wife.
Yeah. And did you ever feel excluded and exhausted, I should say, to the point where you were like, I think I'm going to change my career path. This is too much for me. I mean, law school's harder already, right?
Oh, all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Still now. There's still days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've put in 60 hours this week. I'm over it. I just want to go make coffee now.
Yeah.
Because, when you make coffee, you make the coffee and then you go home and you don't worry about your customers after that. No, but I mean, it happens, right? And sometimes I indulge in this mental fantasy of, okay, what would happen if I just walked away from this all?
Well, students are saying that right now, by the way. I can guarantee you that there's a law student listening to this and they're like, okay, I am Abby. I have no idea what to do. I just got my first semester grades back and they were mid, maybe, and I'm not getting the summer associate position that I really, really wanted. I'm so exhausted. Should I just do that? What would you say to those students who might feel just isolated, burnt out, and who are just kind of at that breaking point?
So as far as like the isolation goes, like I would really encourage the person who's feeling alone and siloed, push out, right? Like there are so many people in our legal community who are willing to take you to lunch and introduce you to people. Lean into the uncomfortable, talk to people who are around you, and you won't feel so alone. My favorite example of feeling alone in law school is I was in my real property class and I felt like I was the only dummy in this class who was not understanding this concept. And I'm like, I will not give up until this professor answers every single question that I have. And I kept raising my hand and I was like, everybody's going to hate me, but I don't even care at this point because my brain isn't getting it.
And people get embarrassed. So
for sure. Yeah. So I kept on. I'd raise my hand and he'd try to answer this question. I'm like, no, I'm still not understanding. And again, I felt like alone out there because nobody else was chiming in. Nobody else was asking questions. And I'm pretty sure I held this class captive for a good 45 minutes. And afterwards,
I'm sure they were grateful by that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There were people who came up after and they're like, we had the same questions. I'm like, then why didn't you ask?
Like group think of not asking.
Yeah. So it's like, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like law school is hard. What you're experiencing is not an isolated experience. Like other people are also feeling the same difficulties. So reach out, swallow your pride, ignore your ego, drop the arrogance and just realize that everybody is in the same boat. It sucks for everybody. And when people say that law school is easy, they're big freaking liars. Law school is the greatest and it's also the freaking worst. It's hard. It's just hard.
Well, then there are people that really love it and then there are people that hate it. And I think there are some that are like, I liked my torts class. I liked my contracts class, but maybe I hated the rest of everything else, and maybe are the middle people. But I think regardless, it is hard.
I don't trust those people who say that they loved it.
that they like torts or contracts.
No, like all of law school. Just kidding. I loved law school, but I also, there are also really difficult parts of being a law student. Really, really difficult. If it's the classes, if it's the social aspect, if it's your family aspect, like it's hard. It's trying on everybody.
And how did you advocate, I guess, for yourself and for others who might have really needed that sense of belonging at the law school? Did you join any clubs when you were there?
Yeah, so I joined the Minority Law Student Association. Gotcha. I also joined the Outlaws, which was the LGBTQ ally organization. It was the Utah Association for Criminal Defense Lawyers, UACDL, and they had a student chapter. So I joined all these organizations just in search of people who had the same interests, who had the same, goals, and who had similar experiences, just to, create one more thing in my life that could be like, okay, other people get it. Yeah. This isn't just something that I'm concocting in my head because outside of law school, our spouses, our partners, our parents, our siblings, our friends, they don't get it unless they've gone through it.
Yeah.
So it's important to build a network of people who do, right? It's like we're in the foxhole together. We might as well be friends while we're here.
Yeah. Do you feel like there is anything that you would have done differently in law school, like looking back?
No, I don't think so. I don't like to live my life with like, oh, I should have done this or I regret doing that, because every choice I made had a consequence, good or bad, that helped me get to where I'm at.
Yeah, I love that. And what do you think you need to succeed in law school, as in the future, as an attorney that goes beyond academics and grades? This is advice you're giving directly to those that might be listening.
Oh, tenacity and grit. I mean, it's hard. It's not a glamorous place to be. I know that like on social media, people are like, oh, get ready with me as I go to law school. It's like, you were way too rested. You were looking way too put together to be a real law student. And it really just takes like putting in the time, coming to terms with the fact that it is hard.
Yeah.
And just kind of leaning into it and putting your head down and just getting through it.
And what do you feel like is the biggest thing that you learned about yourself while you were in law school?
That I can do hard things.
Yeah. That it's not impossible, right?
Yeah. I knew that I could do hard things, but the threshold of what is hard is really, really pushed and redefined when you go to law school. It's difficult. You were learning concepts that are not common. You were learning, I remember being in my contracts class and they were talking about consideration. I'm like, I know what that word means to a layperson, but what the hell are you talking about? Like, it's relearning a new language, you know, and it's difficult.
It's a good explanation of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, those are pretty much the questions for law school. And I think, you know, so those that are listening, they're going to be figuring out, okay, what clubs do I want to join? What kind of support system do I have? And I think that law school prepares students to think that much more critically, but it's definitely different than practicing. And I guess for my next question, what was the biggest thing that surprised you as you began to practice? And then what made you choose the law firm that you are now at?
The thing I think that surprised me the most about practicing law is that not as many people hate it. Like,
as much as I feel like everyone thinks like you're an attorney, then you must hate your life. You hate your job.
Yeah. Or like, you know, going to law school, you'll hear people say, oh, don't do it. You'll hear practicing attorneys say, oh, don't do it. But once you get into it, it's just like people really like their jobs. People really like being an advocate. They really like being somebody that their clients can confide in, that they can trust. I think people really do enjoy being an attorney. As much as we pretend that we hate our jobs, I think that most people really, really enjoy being attorneys. So that was surprising. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, no, what made you choose your law firm and I guess your area of practice as well? It made you kind of solidify that decision.
Yeah, so I'll take that in reverse. I started my career off doing criminal defense.
Okay.
Never really got into immigration for reasons. But I got into civil litigation because one of my old bosses, when I was a paralegal, one of my old bosses called me and said, hey, you know, we lost half of our attorneys. We have all of this work that needs to be done, and we are really looking for a new associate. And I'm like, great. Good for you. I will help you find somebody. And he's like, no. I think that you are misapprehending what I'm saying.
We want you. Yeah.
Please come back. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Like, I was a paralegal there. Please don't treat me like a glorified paralegal. I'm an attorney now, and I've been practicing for 5 years.
I see.
And, you know, it was a lot of persistence from my old boss and encouragement from him saying, you can really do this. You know, you are smart, you are capable. You developed all these great skills as a criminal defense attorney, because I was in court all the time. You know, the scariness of being in front of a jury and being in front of a judge kind of just goes away after you're in court every day, 5 days a week, in front of maybe 4 or 5 judges every day.
Wow. Yeah.
So that like initial hesitation of going to court is gone.
Thick skin.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, and you know, what he said to me was, now it's time to develop your research and writing skills. So come and work here, because you will never, I mean, civil litigation is very different from criminal defense in that aspect. It requires a significant amount of research, crazy amount of writing skills. And he's just like, you can do it. So let's do it. And I said, okay, fine.
And I guess
I'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll stay here. And I feel like you were very accomplished coming out of law school. I mean, you've developed so many skills. You did so well. What made you pick Utah instead of maybe some other places that you might have gotten offers from?
So, I mean, one of the things is about being a non-traditional student is my husband was an educator at the time. And so he was licensed here, and to pick up our family and move and ask my husband to give up his career was just off the table.
Gotcha.
You know, my family is a multi-generational family. We all don't live together, but I see and talk to my parents. I don't see them every day. I talk to my parents every day. Yeah. My husband sees my parents every day. My kids see my parents every day. And so like, it would have just been a huge disruption to our family structure that it was like, it's not worth it for me to do that. So staying in Utah was kind of just by necessity. Yeah. But choosing the firm that I'm at now was by design. You know, Parsons is now in 11 offices, 5 different states. And when I was coming up as a paralegal in this field, you know, starting in 1997, I'd always heard about Parsons. Parsons has had this reputation for as long as I can remember of just a solid law firm with really stellar attorneys. And the opportunity to work with the people that I'd always heard about, you know, by way of their reputation, was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. Being able to learn from some of the most gifted, talented attorneys in the state of Utah was like, I gotta go there.
Yeah.
I have to be a part of this firm.
So the name was itself, was enough itself. That's
and it
fantastic.
pushes me every day because I always, when I'm in court or when I'm submitting, a motion or whatever, the thing that always comes to mind as I'm like preparing to hit send on something that I'm ready to file is, I really hope that I'm not the dummy who ruins Parsons' reputation. Like,
no.
I'm hoping I'm upholding the reputation as opposed to being the exclusion,
the
like
black sheep of the family. Yeah.
Everybody's great, well, except for her. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be great, just like the rest of my partners.
And I think that's a really healthy and good mindset to have, like, especially when you're like, I'm set on this law firm. I want to excel and I'm going to be brought to this level. So that's amazing. And in doing so, you handle a lot of, really diverse cases, but cases that also kind of unfortunately come with a lot of stress and just high emotional types of moments. Do you handle that in a specific way? What's your process with handling all of that stress?
So this is something that I've probably only learned over the last 3 or 4 years, but carving out time for myself. So everyone knows, I work out Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturday mornings.
Oh, they know. It's like,
yeah,
no, Abby's at the gym right now.
It's nobody can interrupt me. This is the time that I have for myself. And then Thursday nights are date nights with my husband.
Oh.
So it's a part of my routine, Otherwise, if I'm not scheduling something, like it's literally on my calendar, that if I'm not scheduling it, it just won't happen. Because there's always okay, I just have to answer this email. I just have to call this client. I just have to finish writing this. I'm almost done with my research. But if I have that like time that's set aside, I can build around it. I can work my way around like these schedules, these calendar invites, these calendar events that I have.
And are there ever moments where you are like, I don't know, were there huge trade-offs as well? Where because you have a family. And so can you speak to any of those examples?
Yeah. So the most recent example was I went to trial in November. Trial started November 3rd, which was a Monday, and went for 3 or 4 days. And my clients who live in other states were coming in on the 2nd, which was the Sunday. That Sunday was also my daughter's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I had to tell her, hey, buddy, like I have to work on the 2nd. I'm going to go in early so that I can get all of my work done. And then my clients aren't coming in until like 4 or 5 o'clock at night. So I'm not going to be home until 10 o'clock, 11 at night. He said, so I am going to miss your birthday. And she had said to me, I am not surprised, Mama. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. Because there are, that wasn't the first time that I had missed something, that was important to her, to my son, or to my husband. And it was rough, right? That whole day I'm like, oh, I'm just a terrible mom. I'm a good lawyer. I'm a bad mom. But after trial, I made it up to her. It was just a matter of, okay, we both understand that this is a necessity for my job. I would have chosen differently if I could. But, when you were in the service industry, which is what the practice of law is, it's a service industry. You have to be there to give your client the services that they deserve, right? 1, but 2, I also took an oath to make sure that my clients were well represented.
Right.
So I can't put that aside. So I made up to her.
Yeah.
I hope I made it up to her.
I'm sure she knows. I think that's the most important thing, is just they know they're on the same page as you are, but you obviously care so much about the work that you have, the work that you produce with your clients, with the other attorneys, to the community there at Parsons. And I think that's really huge too. And you mentioned how it is just also such a huge part of your identity.
Yep.
And, it's apparent that you do so much for your community. You're always fighting for those who are underserved in the community. What motivates you to do so? And what do you think you personally gain from this advocacy?
I think that goes back to growing up in such a small Filipino community, right? Like my parents, all of their friends were Filipinos. All of my cousins, quote unquote, growing up were Filipinos.
Oh, I know the cousins.
Yeah, the cousins, but not related. Yeah. And it was always just like this feeling of community. So for me, it was just being able to give back, right? Like, I am a product of my community. I am a product not of just my hard work, but of other people making sacrifices. And so for me, doing the advocacy work that I do is just giving back to the community that has lifted me up.
Yeah.
I don't have any illusions that I'm here because of me alone.
Yeah.
It took a village to raise this baby lawyer into an old lady lawyer.
Experienced lawyer.
That it's like, I want to do the same for the people who are coming up behind me.
Yeah.
And I want to make that path just a little bit easier than the path that I had to tread. And if there is anything that I could do to smooth that out a little bit, make it a little bit more clear, make it a little bit more defined, that's what I want to do. Like, I don't want people to continue to have the same struggles that I did coming up, because it's 2026 and we shouldn't be, you know. We are a small community of attorneys, and it really just behooves us to make sure that the community that we have is diverse and well represented, open to all, because the best way we serve our clients, the best way we serve this this legal field, the justice system, is making sure that people who have different ideas are being heard, different inputs, different perspectives, because it takes an immense amount of innovation, you know, to represent our clients, to continue propelling this justice system forward. And if we're hearing the same voices over and over again, you're kind of just stagnant, you know. And I want to
it's echo chamber almost.
Yeah. And I want to be like, if anybody hears, like, if there's one person who hears this podcast today and they're like, okay, maybe I want to go to law school, like, that for me is a success, you know?
Oh, thank you, Abby. I think, you know, I really appreciate the transparency, how honest your answer is with advocacy, but also just how you've been juggling life, being an attorney and being a mom and a wife. I don't think it's a job for everybody, but I think that for those who even have the slightest desire to go, should even really do their research, but also understand that life still happens and that it's not necessarily a balance of things, but choosing things intentionally. And we romanticize ambition, but we also don't talk about costs. And you talked about that cost, you know, with your daughter even. And it sounds like, again, less about balance, but more about the intentional trade-offs. There's sacrifice in all good things, right? But I appreciate that you're not pretending that it was easy, right, to get into law school and then to now practicing, because everyone wants success, but every version of success is very different.
Right.
Let's see. All right. We'll end with a fun rapid fire round. If you could create your own legal TV show, what would it be about?
Oh, it would probably be about the lawyers, not about the practice of law. There are so many weird and quirky people out there who are just freaking hilarious. So I'd imagine a sitcom.
Kind of like The Office or something, but with attorneys.
But with lawyers.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would watch it every day for sure. If not an attorney, what profession would you have?
A barista.
Oh.
Yeah, I just want to make coffee. I want to push the button. I want to collect my tips, and then I want to go home.
Just want to go and then smell I love the smell of coffee.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. Yeah. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
That my kids are awesome people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won in life, Abby. You won in life.
Oh,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
and to be clear, like, I played a very small part in that. It's my husband, my parents, my siblings.
A village.
It's a village. It's everybody.
That's amazing. What is your favorite quote?
Tim Shell, "Thou mayest." It's from East of Eden.
Oh.
That book changed my life. John Steinbeck. You just have to read East of Eden. My husband once said that he lost me to law school, and then as soon as I graduated, I picked up East of Eden for like the 4th time and didn't talk to him for about a week until I finished it. And he's like, and then I lost her to John.
I lost her to John.
John Steinbeck, wow. East of Eden, Tim Shell.
Okay, I'll add it to my list.
So
we'll have to talk about it later.
Yeah.
And then when are you most inspired?
Probably at 2:00 in the morning when I can't sleep.
Really? Is that when you're doing cases, or are you just...
Oh, yeah. I wake up and I'm like, okay, this case popped into my brain and I'm just going to go ahead and jot some notes down, send an email, and be awake when everybody else is asleep.
Wow.
And then I'll be awake for about an hour and fall back asleep. When my husband's alarm goes off at 4:30. It's a very unhealthy sleep habit.
Wow. Yeah.
But now I want to see what I wrote. What was really my answer? Oh, when someone tells me that I can't or shouldn't do something, I just want to prove them wrong. That is also correct.
Because, it makes it adds the fuel, it
Yeah.
is the fuel to your motor.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Screw you, watch this.
And then last thing here, actually, I'll have you close your eyes, Abby.
Okay.
All right. Imagine the version of yourself in high school. This is, or early college, before you ever envisioned becoming an attorney, really. If you could speak to that younger Abby, what wisdom would you offer her for the path ahead?
In your own time and in your own way. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
In your own time and in your own way.
Yeah. It's hard to remember that, like, especially when you are a child of immigrants, right? Like TV and social media, especially now, they have like these perfect ideals of how you get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that path isn't available to everybody, and in high school, I beat myself up because I wasn't on that right path. That's why I took all the AP classes. That's why I took all of the honors classes. That's why I did all of the things that I thought was going to get me to law school. I mean, and eventually it did. Right. But it created just so much more stress than was necessary. And if I just realized then in my own time and in my own way, life would have been so much easier. Life would have been different. I wouldn't have changed it because I learned from it, but in my own time and in my own way.
And seize the uncomfortability or something. Yeah. I love that.
Yep.
Abby, well, thank you so much. This just made my day. This is, I think, the best part of my day for sure. And
mine too.
Yes. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. It was truly amazing learning so much more about you. And I'm grateful that to those listening who are able to learn more about you and your story, your experiences. And to everyone listening, this has been Abby M. Dizon-Maughan, and this is the Euclid Legal Lounge. Thank you so much. Thank you, Abby.
Thanks, guys.